Wiz here. Hope you are doing well. I'm only in for a short, quick few minutes. Just sort of pop in and just a few things, and then I will bounce. So it's midweek already, and yeah, a couple of weeks to Christmas. Interesting times. All right, so today I want to share quickly, briefly about one of the things that I want just been stirring. I was just talking to someone before on Facebook Messenger that I've just been feeling stirring to talk briefly about stewardship, and I think it's one of those fun sort of pillars that sort of undergird many of the things that I do. So I think for many times when people talk about stewardship, some of the key things they think about money in terms of resources, how you are, how you being a good steward of your own, and then of course for those who are heading departments, managers, and everything else, you're becoming a steward of an organization, of a department, of an organization, and then of course if your name is George Frydenberg, of course you gotta be a good steward for the whole nation. You're in charge of the whole finances of the whole country, that kind of thing. But I think it gets a deeper meaning or an impactful meaning when it's at high level. But I think at the end of the day, if you're going to believe in this time and space, then that element of stewardship has to start in the very early days. And I think something that is recommended to maybe to begin to teach the young people as they rise through the school system about stewardship. And I think we're reminded of the story of Jesus, where he talks about the story about the master with talents, that this one was given one talent, the other one's given a several more, the other one's given several more, the other one doubled, the other one said, I knew you're very, you're very much, mean taskmaster, so I did nothing, I buried it in the ground. That there's no issue around stewardship relating to that. So that's of course in the area of money. And then of course many people talk about stewardship, they think about time. I think there's a whole range of movement relating to time management, relating to the 5 a.m. movement in terms of starting the day early, and all those sort of things. All those things are sort of much pushing people to a place where they can be more good stewards relating to the time. Because in the day, whether your name is Oprah or Beyonce or Jay-Z or whoever your name is, we all have the same time, 24 hours a day. It's simple as that. So we're finding all these range of movements, range of formulas and methodologies to try and help people be good stewards of their time, because ultimately the way we use our time determines a range of things. The same thing as money, we just talking about before. You find people who have different number of vehicles of investments, different number of vehicles of maybe allowing money to work for you, and a range of things like that. Part of all that is coming down to the issue of stewardship, because in the day, give two people the same resources, 12 months later, this one will have different ones, this one will be different ones, and the same thing as time. We all have different times. I mean, we all have the same amount of time in a day, 365, 24 hours a day, that sort of thing. That's basically standard. But in the day, that's where you find all these different movements around time management, strategic time management, and all those other things. And even in terms of fitness as well, some people are, instead of they're coming with the different strategies to make sure people can get as much out of 30 minutes a day, as opposed to someone training 3-4 times a week doing an hour session. So you find that different fitness enthusiasts are coming up with different formulas, and different fitness coaches are coming up with different formulas, methodologies to try and help people make the most of their time, so that in those 30 minutes that they put in every single day, they get the most in terms of their fitness, they get the most in terms of their body, they get the most in terms of mental alertness, and all those things. Part of that is of course the whole movement around stewardship. And then of course we want to talk about stewardship in the context of people, whether you're manager, department head, or you have certain people that you're responsible for, whether maybe you could be the same thing, you could be a pastor, but at the same time you gotta be a steward of how many people come to church. Maybe 20 people. Some churches are now 5,000, 10,000. They started with maybe a few 4-5 families, and they were by maybe 20, 25 people, and then they grew the church up to 100 and beyond that. Of course, that whole range that's some of the areas relating to stewardship. So for most times when it comes to growth, it's usually, they always say, the way you handle the small things it will determine how quick or how slow you get to the big things. Then that comes to the area of, that comes back to that subject of stewardship. Now, so what I want to talk to you guys today is stewardship in the context of prophetic words, because I think it's one thing to get a prophetic word and get excited, and it's also another thing to do what is required and to align yourself with the prophetic word to the point where, for alignment, so you're finding that there's a whole range of issues around the prophetic and stuff like that. But I think today I want to focus more on the area of stewardship. You've been given prophetic word. What are you going to do? Are you going to jump up and shout through the through Facebook? I know it's exciting when God speaks, whether publicly or privately. And sometimes what can happen is sometimes a word is released, a word that is on point, but then sometimes if it's released prematurely to the rest of the world, it may cause chaos. It can cause confusion. This one, it's one of the reasons I'm talking about stewardship, because at the end of the day, if that prophetic word has been given to you, then it's yours. It's not. It's the responsibility is upon you to actually walk out and see that word come to pass. There's always a part of you there that needs to take charge of that in terms of certain things. Because there are times where, of course, where God will speak to you. God just speaks and say, "Look, tomorrow 10 o'clock, this will happen." You don't have to do anything. Tomorrow 10 o'clock, that will happen. But then there are those prophecies where there's a part of you have to play that to say, "Look, this is going to happen, but you need to do A, B, C, D." That means that prophecy has got a condition. So if you don't meet the condition, it might not happen. 9 out of 10 it will happen. Here's another perfect word. If you're willing and obedient, you eat the good of the land. It's a word, and it's also a prophetic word that if you're willing and obedient, you eat the good of the land. So you might be wanting to eat the good of the land, but you're not willing, or maybe you're not obedient. Already there's the two variables. But you find that in the modern day person, or the modern day believer will jump up and say, "I know, he said if I'll eat the good of the land." That's the final outcome. But there's two things there. If you're willing and obedient, just giving an example, because right now there's a range of chaos relating to Trump. Some prophets are saying Trump's gonna lead. Some people are saying Biden's gonna is gonna lead and stuff like that. That's all at a bigger scale. But really, I'm coming back to those issues, even to the small things that can affect the big things. Because at the end of the day, if you're given the prophetic word, it's up to you to take time with it, chew on it, and aligning yourself with that prophetic word so that it can come to pass. And also finding out what are you meant to be doing related to the prophetic word. And I think this is one of the key things as well when it comes to the release of a prophetic word. Maybe we've got a word for somebody. I've had cases where people come on Facebook, they say, so and so is gonna die, but then you're like, okay, and then the person has to make contact, say, hello, why did you do that, but look, this is one we're talking about stewardship there. So if it is you got a prophetic word that is serious relating to someone, rather than come and do a Facebook live about the prophetic word, I think it might be a good idea to pick up the phone, call the person. I'm talking about stewardship here. You've been given a prophetic word relating to someone, rather than do a Facebook live and say, so and so is gonna die. Please tell him. No, that's pride and arrogance. What happened to pick up the phone? You pick up the phone, call the person, say, look, I feel like I've got a prophetic word for you. This is what I feel. You find that people are more receptive to that, as opposed to come in Facebook and do a Facebook live, or go YouTube, do a YouTube video and say, hello, so and so by the name of so and so, his age, what, this is gonna happen. I mean, look, if it's something that's sensitive and serious, have the courtesy to pick up the phone, call the person, have a chat with them. If they reject it, that's fine, but at least you've done your part to let them know, as opposed to come in, and do a YouTube live and do a Facebook live, and then maybe the persons have to contact you to say, hey, you see this that is, it's a whole chaos. Because I believe the prophetic it's a gift. But in the day when people choose to be irresponsible, then what's meant to be a blessing becomes something else. What seems to be something that becomes something that blesses people, it tends to have the opposite result, the opposite effect, because it's being mishandled. Just like anything, water by itself, it's a good resource. But if it's mishandled, it can compromise people. So anything, yeah. So this is one of the key things relating to stewardship, because at the end of the day, I think sometimes the issue has never been about the word that's been gone wrong, but actually many times it's the word that's been given, it is correct, but sometimes there's an issue of timing, there's an issue of seasons, there's an issue of how their prophetic word was handled. Because sometimes if a prophetic word is handled in an arrogant way, you can have chaos. Because at the end of the day, you find that there are different types of prophetic words. I've just given you two, which is one where, for example, God says tomorrow this is going to happen at this particular time. You don't have to do anything. Fair and fine. Tomorrow, whatever time that is, it will happen. But then there are those ones where there's a part to play on your part, which is many times, which is many times where you have your own part to play. This is where stewardship comes in, because of the day, the way you respond and the way you handle that prophetic word is going to govern a whole range of things. Because sometimes, in not knowing or in being naive, people trigger certain things, and then later on they cry false. Ah, the prophet was a liar, da 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 da. But many times, sometimes it's not even that. It's just that maybe people didn't pay attention to to the conditions and the terms and conditions that came with that particular prophetic word. What were the instructions? And one other thing that's very important as well is revelation. I think revelation is very powerful, because you find that even with many prophetic words or any word of knowledge, word of wisdom, whatever, sometimes in behind the scenes, a revelation can come that can actually help you activate that, or help you have that, see that thing manifest. I can give you example after example. But anyway, I've got to go, guys. I just want to share with you that, and of course, I do talk about stewardship in Head to Head with Jezebel. You can, of course, you can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or even, of course, in Australia, one of Australia's online success stories, Booktopia. You can also get it on Booktopia. I'm gonna put some links below this video, and of course, for those of you interested in writing books, publishing, business, stuff like that, I'm gonna put the link to Raise a Voice Challenge group. You can join in there. It's free. I'm gonna be coming in there. We're gonna share some things, and I think anything to do with business, publishing, writing books, and stuff like that. If that's you, I would encourage you to jump into that particular Facebook group. I'll be putting the link in the comments. And on that note, guys, I gotta bounce. And always remember, you have a common destiny. This is your Luis. Catch you later.